Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Renier van Heerden, and I work together with Dr. Eloise Meyer at the Sunren, and I'm quickly going to talk about the Sunren CSIRT. So, what is the CSIRT? It's a computer security incident response team. But that response team mandate and technical capacity differs from each CSIRT. Each one is unique. But this one is established for the South African NREN. Now my colleague Jay later this afternoon is going to explain a bit more about the South African NREN, so I'm not going to talk too much about it. But it's basically all the science councils and universities. We have a partner, Tenet. You mentioned our keynote this morning, Mr. Stein, also talking about how Tenet connects to them and so forth. But basically, Sunren, the organization I'm from, we are focused on proactive. We're looking at future threats and to prevent them from getting into the network and our beneficiaries. Where Tenet is reactive, there's a problem now, there's a DDoS attack now, or there's a problem we need to solve. We have been accredited to some international organizations, basically trusted introducer, and the Forum for Incident Response and Security Teams first. Okay. And then also we support the Cybersecurity Challenge, which is at the moment as I'm speaking, it's going on as part of this conference. Unfortunately, due to space constraints, that conference is actually at the Kruger Gate Hotel and not here. But that's where we encourage students from all over South Africa and SADC to compete in this competition. Okay, so our external, who are the people that we are trying to protect? It's basically all the universities and science councils that are using the Tenet services or the Sunren network. We're trying to protect them. We're not protecting the inside of the networks, but we protect the things that are going in and in between. So maybe for those of you who are more interested in bits and bytes, those are the AS2018 that's under the control of Tenet, that gives you a side of the scope of the network. The number of IPs, 1.5 million. And IP4s are actually is becoming a resource. And we have had international cases of people actually stealing international IPs. So that's becoming interesting. And a lot of IP6 and the range, ASN range is education. There on the right-hand side is just the first few rows of 95 rows of all the segments, just to give you an idea. But if you're interested, this is open information. You can just Google it and look at it. So what do we do? So we do vulnerability assessments. So if a beneficiary in a university, we tell them once a year we will do a free scan for them. We will actually, as an external partner, have a look at their network and see with multiple of the scanning tools, have a look, see if we can find interesting or problems, and then we bring it back as a report. And the report is actually not tailored for auditor, it's tailored for the IT groups to actually fix it. So it's a slightly different market that we tried there. Alerts. So we have multiple feeds of security information, and then if we find some security alert of something that's going to happen, we send that information through. Announcements, some interesting news, we spread that every week with it. We do some training, basic training, and also building some playbooks. If you get denial of service attack, what do you do? If you get ransomware, what do you do? And think about denial of service attack. If you get a denial of service attack and your response is, okay, I will send the email to the service provider. There's a flaw in that. You have the denial of service, you won't be able to send the email attack. So, and then also incident response. That's not our main function, but if you call us, we can try and help. And where we can really help is if, say, you get attacked from some international organization or even within South Africa, we can coordinate the response by talking to the other CSIRTs and the other sectors, because we already have that trusted relationship to maybe have a quick response. And it works the other way around. We get contact quite often by international CSIRTs and says, listen, somebody from South Africa is attacking us, can you do something about it? And 2/3 of the time it's not even in our AS domain, but they just Google us and then we're top or second or something like that. Okay, I say vulnerability scanning, we do one fee a year for our universities and town councils. This year we have done 4. This is a bit old, so there might have been done a bit more. Then we have a tool called Arctic Hub. It's a free service, so it actually aggregates information from a lot of different security streams. Raw data from a lot of streams. This is maybe a bit small, but there's shadow server and a lot of few of them, where if you only have one of them, you might miss out, and it might be difficult to understand. You can select what type of information you want to know. Do you want to know about command and control services, wrong APIs, and so forth? But what does it look like? So here is basically 2 examples. The bottom example are benign most of the time is, in your range, do you have open FTP service? Now, it wasn't that long ago, if you installed a version of Linux, it will open an FTP server for you. It doesn't really mean anything. But it might be some old FTP server which indicates that FTP server might have different security holes, or there might be data behind that FTP server that are not secured. And of course, as we know, FTP, even if it's a username and password, that username and password is open text. So it gives you a report like that. But that's sort of more of a benign type of information. The more interesting information was like the one above. It's 2 years ago when there was a major security hole in Microsoft Exchange. And the size and scope of the organizations, you don't even probably know what's going on everywhere in the organization, which is actually by design, because you want some openness and you want some experimentation. But for when that Exchange security hole occurred, it will send you information like that explaining there's a security hole on that. And in that cases, we actually directly contacted the security groups within the universities to tell them we found it. But this is the type of information that gets sent to you automatically for our services. Some incidents that we had some DDoS attacks, the null of service attacks, where people tried to overwhelm the network. There were over 5 megabits, that's probably megabits per second, not a megabit per second. So it might not sound like much, but the firewalls were not able to handle that. So you think you have a big pipe coming in your network, but your firewall might not be able to handle this kind of things. Then we had the DNS amplification attack. That is where you use the fact that the DNS response has more bytes coming back that you send it. So you can actually fake your address, send it to a DNS server somewhere, and do DNS amplification attacks. We had some remote code vulnerabilities in some eduroam servers. And then our own infrastructure, we actually got some crypto miner software we detected. And it's a very difficult case for us to solve, because it's identical hardware and identical software, and only one of them were affected. And all the same, so we still tried to figure out what was wrong with that specific machine, why was it compromised and the others not. It's a brute force SSH attack. Then very interesting, we found a new avenue for phishing attacks. Is for Adobe Sign. So those of you who are not familiar with it, with electronic signing becoming very popular, Adobe has a product where it actually, if you have a document that has to be signed by a few people, you can set it up, you mark where the person must sign, it automatically emails the person and say, here is a document to sign, you just sign your electronic signature, and he sends it back. And that avenue has been now exploited by people phishing because they realized that the software that checks for malicious PDFs or even check for phishing type of attacks doesn't check EchoSign. The EchoSign email goes through. And then if you're not alert, you open this PDF document, it might have been compromised, or it might be some type of phone home system or so forth. So that just shows us that this is fight we're busy with. Cybersecurity is a never-ending process. It's basically an arms race. And when you think you're secured somewhere, they found a new way in. Okay, then also we keep a list of security contacts. You won't believe how many times we find out that the security contact at the beneficiary is like johnsmith@institution.com or .co.za or .ac.za. But the point is, John Smith is the guy who does the security, everybody knows it, but then he leaves. And then where does that email go to? And we have so we encourage security departments or CSIRT or whatever different universities to at least have a security email that when the person leaves or changes or got ill, that it can automatically be sent forward to it.
Joe from Palanga. And although I also come from a very huge technical background, the purpose of this presentation is purely research-based. So I'm not going to be displaying most of the things that I've done or that I have done, and also for privacy purpose, some of those data are not going to be displayed. So I have an extensive experience in machine learning, artificial intelligence, and robotics. But I just want to quickly move fast. So basically, we all know that machine learning, if you look at all the talks that have been done in this room today, I don't think there's any talk that has not mentioned machine learning, artificial intelligence. So that basically explains the pivotal tool that machine learning is, not only in the context of this topic, but basically in the context of almost everything. I always tell some of my students, and where I have the opportunity to talk, that the next world war may actually be fought over data. That is why you see every country, every continent now implementing various policies that has to do with data. POPI this, GDPR this, and all those kind of data, because people are trying to protect the precious resources, like we are protecting our territory, like we are protecting our natural resources. Data is actually going to be very, very huge. So in this presentation, these are basically the outline of some of the things that I'm going to be talking about. So because of the time, I'm not going to go through all these, and I believe that you can quickly read through this, and if anybody needs the slide, I'll freely give it to the organizers of this conference so that they can give it out. So let us go into the context and the background of this work that we've done, the importance of dark web in cybersecurity. Now imagine the potential of turning the dark web veil of secrecy against itself. That is, using the AI to unearth the secrecy beneath the cyber threat before they even materialize. Now let me give you an example. If you look at what happened around 2019, 2018, I can't really remember the year, but it happened in France where there was an attack, I think Charlie Hebdo attack. I'm not sure if anybody still remember where this terrorist went to attack the people in the magazine room. You know, the people that coordinated that attack, they coordinated the attack via PlayStation 4 at that time actually. Do you guys know PlayStation? A PlayStation is gaming machine, but which is connected. So you can stay in South Africa and be playing game with somebody in the United States. And the people that coordinated the attack they sat down in Belgium and they were coordinating how to attack France. You know the reason? Because there's no proper and adequate intelligence. So dark web holds very significant importance in the cybersecurity landscape due to its plethora of illicit activity. When we're talking about dark web, we're talking about the surface of that particular internet activities that you don't see. What many of us know is basically the open web. You go to Google, you go to Facebook, you go to Twitter, and all these things are basically, but there are some dark web that your browser will not be able to go to. There are specific browsers that are meant to do that. So a lot of illicit activities go via that particular dark web. Human trafficking, drug trafficking, terrorist attack, and all those things. So you realize that in the realm of cybersecurity, the dark web is notorious for being a hub of various cyber threats and criminal activities. And it also facilitates the planning and execution of cyber attacks, which many organizations don't look into. Somewhere around 2017, 2018, one of the biggest insurance company was attacked in South Africa. And those people that attacked the company, they sat in there and they were negotiating and they said they are going to collect $20 million until, for privacy's sake, I'm not going to mention the name of the company, but I mean, some of us will know. And you know, while the company will want to douse the tension that, no, we were not attacked, but those attackers have already sent panic, right, into the mind of the client of that insurance company. The same thing around 2017. This is actually well known, so there's no point of not mentioning them. Standard Bank was hacked, and about 17 billion rand. I might be wrong in the figure of the money that I quote, so please don't quote me on it. But a lot of money, running to billions of rands, were collected using the credit card of Standard Bank customers in Japan over just one weekend. Between the night of Saturday and the night of Sunday, when they knew that Standard Bank was not in operation. Does that make sense? Those people do not just attack, they have already coordinated that particular attack before they did so. So as a result, the role of dark web in the cybersecurity landscape actually underscored the need to advance cybersecurity strategies that go beyond conventional design or defenses, putting firewalls in place, putting military zone in place. Those people that do all those things, they have gone beyond all those circumventing firewall, circumventing military zones. So in this presentation, I will delve into our methodological approach, the key finding from the analysis that we've conducted, and the implication of these findings for cybersecurity professionals, researchers, and possibly policymakers. Quickly, I'm not going to go through this basically, but cybersecurity threat intelligence involves the collection, analysis, and dissemination of information about current and potential attacks that threaten the safety of organizational digital assets. Organization in this case could be a country, could be a government, could be a university, could be a bank, could be anything. Right. Sometimes around 2018, when the Sony wanted to hear a particular film about the South Korea leaders, they informed Sony that if they did that, they were going to hack into their account from South Korea. You know, those people are very, very bold, and they know what they are doing. Now, if you look at another time, LinkedIn passwords were hacked. And we were seeing various passwords like, I am tired of this word. The name of my son is this. all those things are coordinated underneath, and they go beyond putting, like I said, firewall in place. So the security threat intelligence has played a significant role, basically, in the evolution of dark web. So as a result of that, you realize that it continues to evolve. And for instance, in recent years, we've seen a significant shift in the complexity and the frequency of cyber attacks, which range from APT, what we call advanced persistent threat, and state-sponsored attacks to sophisticated phishing and ransomware campaign. I also double as an ethical hacker. So I understand some of these things because I do this thing legally. I don't hack illegally. Please don't quote me for some of these things that I'm that I'm saying here. So according to our research, we found out that a 2023 report by the cybersecurity venture basically claimed that cybersecurity is projected to cost the world over 10 trillion annually by 2025. Do you know how much JP Morgan lost in about 2016 because the bank was hacked into? A lot of money. So all these use cases are there. And some of these things, when they are sponsoring attack, they don't just wake up and say, we want to attack this kind of people. It's something that they do, and they do these things via the dark web. So, as a result, we realize that reactive methods are often not sufficient against this modern sophisticated cyber threat. These guys, they are very brilliant. Trust me. The attackers are brilliant. They go extra mile every time. They also have intelligence that they are using to monitor you, that you are trying to circumvent them, not to be able to do what they want to do. So, as a result, there is a need for more advanced and proactive strategies. So in the face of this evolving threat, which relies on conventional security measures like firewalls and antivirus, all these things are no longer interested anymore. So we said, if you then have a threat intelligence in place, you as an organization will be able to anticipate, prepare for and respond to cyber threats more effectively. We were talking, myself and Dr. Blessing, that we came together, we were talking with one of the earlier presenter after the meeting. We were saying, when you have, as time goes on, you put in a dynamic model that keeps on sniffing, getting the data, and you put them in a data engineering platform that keep on analyzing that data and then keeps on performing the machine learning of those data and then keep on making prediction of what is likely to happen tomorrow based on some of the intelligence that you are getting. So we say proactive defense enabled by thorough threat intelligence can actually reduce the likelihood of successful attacks, minimize the damage, and enhance the overall security. Now that we have an understanding the crucial role of the threat intelligence, let's move into what basically dark web is, so that it leads you and me into what we have tried to do and basically how we have tried to do it and achieve it. So we said the dark web is a section of the internet that is intentionally hidden. So many people, when they use the internet, they don't know that there are some particular part of the internet that are hidden, which they don't see. So these basically, they are inaccessible through standard web browsers. And it is part of the deep web, which includes all web pages that are not indexed by search engine. When Google came out, everybody thought, wow, Google has come to solve the problem. But there are some people who are working every day to make sure that when you search, whatever they are doing cannot be indexed by Google. Those are the people that are working in the dark web. Those are the secret cult of the internet. So what exactly is the relevance of dark web to cybersecurity? We said for cybersecurity, the dark web is significant, because it breeds grounds for illegal activity, which includes cybercrime. It holds marketplace for selling stolen data, malware, and hacking services. As a matter of fact, when that insurance company was hacked around 2017, I think, all the ID of South Africans were hacked and it was disposed. And according to the law, they actually told them that we have this data, look at them. If you don't look at them, if you don't give us this amount of money, we're going to expose this data. Exposing that data is going to cost them more millions of dollars, if not billions. As a result, if you look at what Prof. Renia has spoken about, the CSET team that you see in the world or in every country are basically police in the cyber security or cyber arena that negotiate release of hostage between the attackers and the hostage. In this case, who are the hostages? The organizations that is holding the data, that owns the data. Who are the terrorists? In this case, they are the attackers. Am I making sense? So that's basically the relevance of cyber web. So access to the dark web is typically via specialized software. One of those software is Tor, T-O-R. You can just Google it and search for it if you are interested in learning more. So many cyber attacks, they are planned, discussed, or facilitated through dark web channel. So making it a vital source of intelligence for predicting and preventing attack. So monitoring and analyzing those activities on the dark web is challenging because of the anonymous nature. Because you don't really know the people that are actually doing this, and you don't have an opportunity to be indexed. So the traditional web crawlers and search techniques are not effective. So this basically necessitates an advanced tools and approaches like machine learning algorithm to extract data, analyze the data from the dark web for actionable cybersecurity insight. So having an understanding of that dark web's role in cybersecurity is very, very important, especially if you are dealing with expensive and sensitive data. And many people don't understand. I was talking to some people that government controls everything that we do. Your name is not your name until you have a birth certificate that carries your name. Even if the parent that gives back to you says this is your name. Until government says this is your name is not your name. You are not married to a lady or to a man, even if you have been living together, until you have a marriage certificate. You cannot do anything with the banks in South Africa if you don't have an ID. And who gives all this? They are the government. All these data are very sensitive. If you look at the POPIA Act, the way these data are handled are specified. And a manager or a CEO or a director of a company can land him or herself 7 years in jail if those data are breached. Are you not telling me these are not important? And most of these data, they are on the server, they are on the website, they are on the machine of those organizations. You've got to learn how to protect and prevent it. So we did some findings in research. Before you can come up with an implementation, especially when you are doing data science and action research, you have to first perform some literature review. And from our literature review, our key findings shows that one of the pivotal study by Smith and Jones in 2021, it shows and demonstrated the effectiveness of using deep learning algorithm to identify and categorize illegal marketplaces on the dark web. Another one made a huge contribution in 2020. He developed a machine learning model to basically track and predict cyber criminal trends based on dark web forum data. So some of these studies basically uncovered patterns in cyber criminal behavior and identify emerging threats, which basically showcase the potential of machine learning, right, in this domain. You've heard about machine learning. Machine learning is basically teaching the computer to recognize the patterns in data set or data, and from that pattern, the computer should be able to make an insightful or an actionable decision based on the patterns in that area, in the data set. However, there are some challenges with these studies. So the challenges are that basically much of those research, they focus only on English language. So when I was working for one facial recognition company in 2017, I was the head of the mobile development, and then we wanted to develop a system that can recognize every face in South Africa. And when we're talking about every face in South Africa, we're talking about the large majority which are black. And then the management of the company then went to buy a system that does the same thing from China. Be honest with me, do I look like a Chinese? Do you look like a Chinese? That's the gap. That's the gap in the system. Now let's assume that you want to do most of the countries where cybersecurity threat, dark web operations emanate from. They don't speak English. That's a fact. They don't speak English. I'm not going to mention countries, but go to the Eastern Europe. Go to some part of Asia. Asia don't even speak English at all. Right. How do you then monitor their activities? Those are some of the challenges that we have. Those are some of the gaps that we do. So this basically highlights the needs for multilingual models and approaches that encompass or involves a broader spectrum of some of those dark web that we are looking into. If you look at Facebook, if you look at Twitter, if you look at some of those social media platforms, you realize that it doesn't matter nowadays the language in which you post. The system can automatically translate for you. And if you look at some of those platforms also, you now have to monitor the way you type. There are some things that you cannot do because they have a system that you cannot type. There are some words that you have to be careful or in posting, like K-I-L-L, like F-U-C-K. You have to find a way around because that platform can get what you are doing. That's basically some of the things that we're trying to do in our dark web analysis. So there's a compelling opportunity to develop more dynamic, real-time analysis tools using machine learning. So when we decide that the best solution is to explore the application of machine learning in non-English context, we significantly enhance the understanding of the global cyber threat, because that basically expanded our horizon and how we pull data. So how does this connect to our study? That particular background sets the stage for what we did, because what we aim to address is to address the gap that we found in those studies. And because of time, I intentionally excluded some of the things that we do in terms of the literature review, the hyper text analysis, using Scopus and Web of Sciences to get our stuff, because those things are going to take our time. And remember, like I said, this is basically for research purpose, for researchers, policymakers, and obviously organizations. So our aim is to address these gaps by developing a machine learning model that is capable of real-time analysis across diverse languages. What is real-time analysis? Real-time analysis is the ability for your system to be able to fetch the data in real time. Not that you have the data set that you have already deployed and your system is looking into the data set, you are then performing a train test split, you are performing evaluation of the testing. No, we are getting the data in real time. The data is being pre-processed in real time. The data is then being analyzed in real time using different tools of machine learning development and also machine learning engineering and data engineering. So what did we do? We utilized a combination of natural language processing. Right, so a natural language processing is a machine learning technology that gives your computer the ability to understand every language, analyze them, extract those data, and perform analysis and make predictions on them. An insightful prediction, so to say. So what we did was, for textual analysis of our data, anomaly detection algorithms to identify unusual pattern, which is indicative of potential threat. So we collect data from various dark web sources. Right, and those include forums, marketplaces, chat rooms, over a period of 6 months. As I said, this is a research purpose. When you are working as an intelligent expert for some organization, let's say the police, for instance, you appear as if you are not a police. Am I making sense? You're not going to be telling people that I'm a police, I'm gathering intelligence from here. So that's basically the way we've appeared in order for us to be able to gather the data that we use. And we did this over a period of 6 months. Right, and what did we find out? So the raw data basically underwent several pre-processing steps, which include removing irrelevant information, normalization, which is called standardizing the text, tokenization, which is called breaking the text into meaningful units. And basically, given the nature of the dark web, we put additional steps in place, like translation and decryption where necessary for certain tool tests. So we also make sure that our data went through quality and integrity. So quality checks were regularly performed to ensure the accuracy and reliability of the data. We implemented various measures to make sure that we maintain the integrity of the data so that we avoid any alteration that could skew the analysis. Right. So we use a particular platform called Apache Airflow. So Apache Airflow was developed by Spotify. Spotify is a music streaming platform. So they use Airflow to collect data on a real-time basis, and then they analyze that particular data and they use it to make suggestions to their customer on the real time based on what basically is trending. And Apache Airflow is now open source, which is free for anybody to use. So result and analysis from there. So through visualizations, right, we use what we call word cloud. So we utilize various data visualization. We use heat maps, word clouds, network diagrams to represent the complex relationship of those activities within the dark web. But word cloud basically stand out for us because it basically uses natural language processing to identify and segment words into different meaning. So for instance, our word cloud reveal prevalent themes in the dark web forum, such as cryptocurrency, hacking, anonymity, illicit tobacco, drug market. Those are some of the things that people are talking about, which you can't stand on the street and talk to people, even on the internet, and chat with people about, I want to traffic drug. The next thing, you don't find yourself in jail. And this is basically, if not billions of dollars market, is millions of dollars market. So we access the performance of our machine learning algorithm, and you see we got something like some of these that we get from our, illicit tobacco, crypto market, trafficking, the risk of us being on the internet. How do we make sure that we are not displaced? How do we make sure that these people, how can we trust the person that is chatting? So those are some of the things that our systems are getting. And basically, assessing the performance of our machine learning algorithm, it categorized, which is basically the natural language processing, and analyze the textual data. At first, it actually achieved an accuracy of 85% in what we call sentiment analysis. But later we fine-tune using various hyperparameter models to actually got up to 95%. However, there's no journey without a challenge. So we encounter various challenges with anomaly detection, which is basically due to the various nature of dark web data, which always is going to require fine-tuning almost every minute, if not every seconds of the algorithm. So our analysis, which is powered by the NLP, provided crucial insights, right, into the landscape of cyber threat. And those findings, what we find out, are really invaluable for enhancing our understanding and strategies that can be used in cybersecurity. And you remember that at every news you hear that the government, they did this, they arrest this, the plane that is coming, a drug that is coming from the Brazil. And so I'm a Nigerian, but I'm South African. Right. So I used to, I've consulted for various police organizations, including GMPD. And when we did some of those consultations, we told them that go to UK, they understand what they're doing. Go to America, they understand what they're doing. You cannot deal with Nigeria. You know what I'm talking about, but I'm not going to say it. So we must hone our challenge when we see it. So you cannot deal adequately with Nigerian, with Zimbabweans, with Ghanaians, if you don't have somebody who understands the language that they are speaking. Because you have made pact with the fact that you want to bring Nigerians into the country, because that's according to international law. But you can't say, no, we don't want to have Nigerians in the police. We don't want to have Zimbabweans in the police. At the end of the day, you are going to be having various challenges. Because I'm speaking my language underneath, you don't understand. And that language that I'm speaking, it's different from Zulu, different from Xhosa, different from Pedi, from Tonga. As a result, you need somebody. That's basically what they have achieved in the West. That make them to quickly understand. Do you think America don't know what they are doing when they say, look, in South Africa today, America will sit in the America, and we in South Africa, they will be telling us from America that there's likely to be a threat in Sandton. How do you think they know? Have you ever wondered? Do you think they are joking? No, they are not. They said there's going to be an attack in Sandton, and some of us will say that no, those American people, no, they know what they are doing. They are telling the truth, because they're not going to divulge where they're getting the information from. So those are some of the things that where this kind of research is basically valuable. So the revealing patterns and trends, we observe recurrent themes in cyber criminal communications, including emerging tactics in phishing and ransomware attack, and notably a spike in discussion about specific vulnerabilities, which often followed by an increase in related cyber attacks, indicate a predictive trend in how things happen. As I said, this is purely research. Once we finish, we can then migrate into an action research where we develop a proper model that can be deployed. So the predictive capability that is evident from the data that we gather, we also notice shift in cyber criminal tactics and target preferences, possibly in reference. We notice that some people are discussing dealing with the people that have dealt with them. Like Profrenia is my supervisor. He didn't allow me to graduate on time. Let's do this to him. Profrenia didn't know that some people are discussing that underneath. And then the same person that is discussing how to deal with Profrenia still goes in front of Profrenia and smile at him. But there is Profrenia, who is operating a CSET platform, has a system that has been deployed that monitors every dark web in South Africa. We now be able to see that my name keeps coming out on this platform. What is happening? You then, okay, I want to know what is happening because I don't know why my name is coming out. You fine-tune. If you know that you are supervising, put supervision as part of your words. Maybe you are going to get it from the word cloud. So those are some of the things that we do. So such insight helps in understand the adaptive nature of cyber threat. And also the insights that we gain inform the development of more robust defense mechanism and targeted threat response strategy. They also underscore the importance of continuous monitoring and adapting cybersecurity measures in line with evolving threat. Okay, I'm moving closer to the end of my presentation. These are very crucial, this insight, they are very crucial for understanding the evolving landscape of cyber threat, and they contribute significantly to proactive cybersecurity strategy. So let's discuss what we find out. Our analysis basically revealed that dark web servers, they're not only a marketplace for cybercrime, they are also a barometer for emerging cyber threats. And nowadays, prevention, they said, is what? It's better than cure. You don't want to wait until you catch a disease and start treating the disease. Prevent catching that particular disease. So the patterns in the communication and topic prevalence on dark web can serve as indicator of evolving cyber criminal tactics and potential threat. You know one thing that we also find out? We now found out from the analysis that some of the people that even wanted to commit suicide, they don't do it on the surface anymore. They now have they now have forum, association of depressed people interacting on the dark web. And one of the things that we found out that comes out in their conversation is that people don't listen to them. That's a system not only for cyber threat, but we can also use it to assist people in preventing suicide. So basically we said this serves as indicator that of evolving cyber criminal tactics and potential threat. And what are the implications for cybersecurity practices? So they understand, these findings underscore the need for dynamic cybersecurity strategies that are adaptable and responsive to the trends that are indicated by dark web intelligence. So it's not only enough for you as an organization to want to hire a cybersecurity expert who only went to school because he or she has passed CCSP or CC, all those particular courses that has nothing to do. But I believe that the developer of those courses will now begin to implement machine learning into their modules, into their courses. So incorporating dark web analytics into cybersecurity operation could enhance threat detection significantly and serve as a prevention capabilities. So as we move to the final end, what are the challenges, the consideration, the conclusion that we have, and the opportunity that we all have for collaboration? So we said the use of dark web intelligence in cybersecurity is not only without challenges, but those challenges include ethical concerns around privacy and data usage. This kind of study cannot be 100% successfully conducted without having an ethical approval. And not only those kind of ethical approval are not mainly from the university. It has to come from the policymakers, from the decision makers within the broader spectrum of the nation. So, moreover, the sheer volume and complexity of dark web data necessitates sophisticated, scalable machine learning solutions and continuous algorithm refinement. So, which means that you don't gather the data and leave the data there, more or less like the people that are developing virus and developing antivirus. They don't stay on one place and say, okay, we're going to use this data now for the virus profile. Tomorrow, the attackers, they change their tactics. You are developing the antivirus, you need to change your tactics ahead of it. This is why this research is very valuable. Finally, our study basically paves the way for a more informed, proactive approach to cybersecurity, which leverage the untapped potential of dark web intelligence. Thank you.
I felt that fits perfectly in where a ransom got angry that the company didn't report the leak. So you even get that situation. So, so let's open the floor for questions. Yes, sir.
Thank you, Rene. My question is for the gentleman in the middle. Unfortunately, I didn't hear the presentation of the gentleman on the left and the beautiful lady on the other side. Thank you, Doc, for such a comprehensive research. We really appreciate that in the cybersecurity field. Okay. My question is, when you're performing your analysis, what method are you using to secure your IP address space in case of hiding your digital footprint? Thanks.
Privately as an individual researcher, so I, in my house, as a server that is set up using what we call Nginx. So that Nginx server, the IP is basically not exposed. But also, as a member of an ethical hacker forum, right, we have way of working as intelligence so that we are able to communicate with the people, and those are our communication in form of the chat on the forum that we join. We are able to use a particular machine learning system, which is NLP, natural language processing, to extract those data. And my particular system on which the research is made is not open to the world because it's a private system, but which only if we are collaborating together, let's say myself and Provrenia are collaborating together, I can expose that to him. I only give it to him. However, that doesn't mean it cannot be attacked because he is responsible for safeguarding the credentials that is given to him. Once that credential leaks, then there's a challenge.
Thank you. Next question, please. Yes? And then we go there.
All right, thank you. My question is for the lady. So in terms of your framework, will it be guided by the different policies and also literature, the literature that you went through, or just the policies? And the number two is, what is your focus? Will it be the user perspective and the manufacturer, or just only the manufacturer, or both, when you're now designing your framework? Thank you.
Okay, thank you for your question. Your first question again? Okay, or the legislation. Okay. It's going to be both, because whatever you design obviously has to, if it needs to go into practice, it needs to be aligned with the laws of the land or the laws of the region where it's likely to be used. Currently, Vehicular Ad Hoc Networks has its feet rooted in Europe and in the Western world, not much in this continent. However, because we are doing this research from this continent, I'm still considering, including the POPI Act, at least for South Africa. At least South Africa is a little bit more advanced compared to the rest of the continent. And then for your second question, sheesh, I'm trying to remember. Okay, yes. So it's, the whole network or research surrounding VANET is quite a big space. Currently, I would say it would be from the perspective of the user side, because, manufacturers, their own organizations, so unless they have, projects that focus on that. I know in Europe they have a consortium that focuses on car-to-car communication. So at least in Europe, it's already on a more advanced level where if vehicles are being manufactured, they already have those documents and documentation to be aligned with. So from our perspective, or from my side, it's from the user side, yeah.
There were a question.
This is a question to Doc. It's just for my own personal knowledge. I know that the best commodity that the dark web sells is privacy. So I want to know, is there levels to the dark web? Like, for example, I'm assuming the person who is planning to commit suicide is not at the same level as somebody selling government military secrets. So if by any chance there are different levels, or maybe they're being controlled by different privacy levels, how deep did this analysis go, and what level were you trying to access?
Okay, you are very correct. They are not on the same level, but basically we are unable to understand the level at which each and every one of them are. But what we are focusing on is to basically extract the textual data that we are getting from the deep web. And we just stumble, by the way, by the fact that even in the deep web, some people are still talking about suicide. And the reason they expose the reason why they are talking among themselves, we realize that those people who are talking about suicide, and I'm not sure if I can use that word here. Okay. So those people who are talking about suicide, they expose the reason why they are talking about it among themselves is the fact that people don't understand them, and when they open up, they are being judged. Right, and they are giving themselves, what we actually discovered was shocking. They are even giving themselves tips, assistance on how to commit that particular heinous crime. However, we cannot really determine whether these people are forum of people who want to commit suicide, or whether they are people who are manipulating their minds to actually perform that act. I'm not sure if I answered your question.
We have time for one more question. There was in the back.
Thank you very much. I thought Dr. Ogunleye, for some reason, finished his statement far shorter than he should have gone. Dr. Ogunleye, regarding NLP development, is it easier and more efficient to actually buy an existing solution which also goes into the facial recognition and then tweak it to make it suitable for your conditions, or it's better to actually develop one which is from the ground up, which will then suit the conditions of the continent, if I could use an example of China versus Africa?
Yeah, so basically it's going to depend on what you want to do. The reason why I use the China-African example is because when I was at a company called Authenticate, we were developing a system, facial recognition for all the banks and the mobile company when it comes to SIM swap at that time. So we bought a solution from China, and we realized that that particular system, when you take one picture, that one picture is replicated within 1 second to about 250,000 images that it can capture. But we realize that it cannot capture our faces. However, most of this proprietary company, they don't release the code for you. They will not tell you the secret of their system. So if you want to make any change, you have to pay another money. So as a result, we raised some people actually from the University of Johannesburg that did the research, and I was part of that team. And then we gather a lot of images from the internet, which basically African images. Nowadays, you don't even have to go through a lot of challenges. ChatGPT can get you millions of images in 1 minute. You know, so I would suggest, if you have the capability in-house, develop your own system. However, if you do not, spend the money, and what is going to worth it. It's going to be justified.